What's up, guys? Welcome back to Almost Functional 40K. I'm here again with another layout for ATC. This is the fourth layout they're going to be using. It is actually layout 6 in the Brian Nexus Tournament Companion. So we'll go ahead and pull that up for you guys. Feel free to like and subscribe. Help me get this content out to other people. So this is what layout 6 looks like. The middle is still really wide open. There are more firing lanes, but not as big of firing lanes. What I mean by that is, before, in like the last layout, you could sit like one spot and shoot to most spots of the board for a couple of these middle lanes. Here, you've got firing lanes like through here, through like here. But if something's here, you may have to move. Say something's over here and you want to shoot it, you might have to move out this way. But if it's over here, so you have to really, if you have a mobile shooting, you can still get shots on most stuffs anywhere, but you are going to have to move around pieces to get the shots to everything you want. So you may not be able to get the same two targets. So you want to split fire, you might not be able to get both the best targets you want, like you could in the last mission if your opponent places them well, because the firing lanes are a little more restrictive. There's more of them, but they're smaller. So you can get shots on pretty much anything still, but you're not going to be able to see everything from one spot on most places on the table. So it's still a good shooting board, but it isn't as heavily skewed just to shooting, because you can get better positioning to force them to make decisions on what they want to shoot. So far, layout 1 is the best, I think, for combat armies. 2 and 6 are slightly in the favor of shooting, but you can still find ways to win with combat. Layout 4, I believe, is heavily in the favor of shooting. Well, let me go ahead and set up the first deployment tipping point, and we'll go over those missions. All right, guys, so here's what tipping point looks like set up on layout 6. Once again, your 4 outside objectives all are hidden behind terrain, or not completely hidden, but have spots where you can hold them from behind terrain. I found that on most of these shooting heavy boards, a lot of these deployments do give you the option of hiding in these spots like this. So it does help mitigate that there are so many shooting lanes, the fact that you can still hold objectives safely from areas that it's hard to get angles to. So while the center of the board does, on most of these layouts, favor shooting, you do have ways to control objectives without fully exposing yourself to that. So once again, the first mission on this will be Purge the Foe, which is turn 1, you kill a unit, you get 4 points. From the second battle round onward, you kill a unit, you get 4 points. You kill more units than your opponent, you get an additional 4 points. And then if you hold an objective, it's worth 4 points. If you control more objectives than your opponent, you get 4 points. So for possibly 16 points a round. The killing is per battle round. The holding objectives is in your command phase. So you could both potentially get the 8 for hold more, but only one of you can get the 8 for kill. But if you tie, neither of you will get the 8. You both get 4 for kill. Or if neither of you kills, you both get 0. And then the mission rule for this one is Smoke and Mirrors. It lets you put 1 unit worth up to 5 hit points into reserve after deployment, and it can take you past your normal thresholds of what is and isn't allowed in reserves by unit number and points. That's up to 5 hit points, so basically 25% of the battle. And then the second mission on here is Take and Hold, which is one of the most straightforward missions there is. 5 VP for holding an objective, up to 15. Whoever goes second scores at the bottom of turn 5 for their primary. And then the mission rule for this is Raise Banners. Battle line that ends your turn on an objective and you control it. You can raise a banner for 1 secondary point. Those points do count secondary, not primary. It's not an action. Battle line just has to be there. So they can still shoot, charge, whatever, as long as it's the end of the phase or end of your turn, they're on the objective and control. So both of those missions are fairly straightforward. And so there's not too much more to go over on them. So we'll go ahead and get to the next one. So, all right. So this is what the search and destroy deployment looks like on layout 6. Once again, all the outside objectives are going to be able to be held from behind the walls. So that is pretty much the same. The only difference is these objectives, the 2 corner objectives, move slightly. The home base objectives, the middle objectives, once again, stay the same. The first mission here is Linchpin. So this is the one where holding your home field objective is worth 3. And if you hold your home field objective, each of the other objectives on the table is worth 5. If you lose your home field objective, then all the other objectives are worth 3. So this is probably the most important mission to hold your backfield. And the mission special over this one is raise banners. So if you have a battle line unit on an objective at the end of your turn and you control the objective, they can raise a banner and you get 1 secondary. Once again, it's not an action, so they just have to be there. They can do all their other normal stuff. They can advance, they can shoot, they can whatever. It just has to be a battle line. And then the second one is Burden of Trust. This is the one where you get 4 BP for each objective you control that is not within your deployment zone. And you can choose to guard any objective you control with one of your units. And if they are still on that objective and controlling it at the end of your opponent's turn, it will give you an additional 2 BP. And you can do that with as many units you want on as many objectives you control. You just only do it once on each objective per turn. Then once again, you score at the end of turn 5 for primary stuff. The person who's going second. And then the mission special rule for this one is prepared positions. It just lets you do go to ground and heroic intervention for 0 CP on a battle line unit if you haven't already used the strike. So that fairly straightforward mission rule. Not much really to go over on those. Just linchpin, make sure you control this home field objective. And on Burden of Trust, you can't get points for controlling the objective in your deployment zone, but I believe you can get 2 BP for guard. So that's it for the search and destroy deployments. So we'll go ahead and set up the last 2 missions, and I'll be right back. All right, so this is what Crucible Battle looks like set up on layout 6. This is going to be missions P and N, most likely rounds 3 and 6 at ATC. So once again, on this layout, every single mission is going to have all the objectives able to be held from behind walls, except for mission 6. We'll get into that when I get to that. The ritual, that'll be the last one we do. So this is the layout. So the first one is Scorched Earth. This is the one where you can burn objectives. You can't burn the one in your deployment zone, but if you burn one of the objectives in no man's land, it's worth 5 BP. If you burn the one in your opponent's deployment zone, it's worth 10. You can only burn 1 per round, and if you burn it, it disappears. So basically, you can start it during your turn, and it ends at the end of your opponent's turn, and then that objective disappears. Be careful burning objectives you can hold for multiple turns too early, because the normal mission is you can score 5 BP per objective you hold, up to 10. And let me confirm. Yeah, so you do get the 5 BP for controlling your home objective. So if you have one other objective, you can lock down and hold. You can just hold those 2 for your 10 because you're max at 10 that way. And any of the other ones, you can go ahead and burn to get the extra points early. But then you have to make sure you control. Don't lose the one you chose as the one you can control. And then for this one, the special rule is Inspired Leadership. It's just if your warlord is outside of your deployment zone, any friendly unit within 9 that can see him gets +1 to the battle show. The last mission is going to be the ritual. For the ritual, you're going to remove these two objectives here. And then during your turn, you can have units do actions to raise objectives within 12 of a no man's land objective. So the first ones will have to be within range of this, and then also be within 1 inch of the unit doing the action, and it has to be fully in no man's land. And when we say fully in no man's land, we just mean the objective, which is this size. These are control area markers. They're not the actual objective. The objective is just this little circle in the center. So the control area, this thing, when you drop it, can actually fall into your deployment zone because it's not the actual objective. These just represent control area to make it easier for tournament play, left measurements. And then the special rule for this one is swift action, which lets battle line units fall back or advance and still do an action, which will help because you need to do the mission action and you need to do any secondary action to gain. So that's it for the ritual. It just, you're going to start with the 1. You'll most likely end up with 3 to 4 objectives scattered around no man's land. And for scoring for this, you get 5 VP per objective. Sorry, 5 VP per objective in no man's land that you control up to a max of 15. So that's it for the ritual. That's the 6 missions on layout 6. We will be back with layout 8, which will be the last layout for ATC. But thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, and we will catch you next time.